Idea, the big skeleton said. So the big skeleton, the little skeleton, and the dog skeleton walked round the dark, dark pond, past the dark, dark tennis courts, and up to the dark, dark swings.
The big skeleton and the little skeleton played on the swings. They threw a stick for the dog. Suddenly something happened. The dog skeleton chased the stick, tripped over a pond bench, bumped into a tree and ended up a little pile of bones.
Yes, and ended up as a little pile of bones. Look at that, the big skeleton said. It's all come to pieces. What shall we do now?
Let's put it together again, the little skeleton said.
So the big skeleton and the little skeleton put the dog skeleton together again. They sang a song while they did it.
The toe bone
Connected to the foot bone, the foot bone's connected to the leg bone.
The leg bone's connected to the hip bone. The hip bone's connected to the backbone. Then they got mixed up. Is that a toe bone?
Is that a toe bone?
The big skeleton said. Where does this one go? Said the big skeleton. When they had finished.
When they had finished.
The big skeleton said, that dog looks a bit funny to me.
That dog looks a bit funny to me, yes. So he does, said the little skeleton. We've got his tail
on the wrong end and his head. Foo! Said the dog skeleton.
Foo! Yes. What a funny barking. Foo. At last, the dog was properly put back together again. The big skeleton and the little skeleton sang another song. These bones can bark again, can run around in the park again, can frighten people in the dark again. The big skeleton scratched his skull. That reminds me, he said, we forgot to frighten somebody.
So let's do it away home.
On the way home then.
Said the little skeleton.
Good idea, the big skeleton said. So the big skeleton, the little skeleton, and the dog skeleton left the dark, dark swings, went out into the dark, dark town, and tried to frighten somebody. The trouble was, there wasn't anybody. Everybody was in bed. Even the policemen in the police station were in bed. Even the animals in the zoo. Of course, the skeleton animals were awake. What skeleton animals are here?
The giraffe, the fish, the mouse, and the snake.
Okay.
Mommy, let's turn it. Do you know it now?
No.
Yeah.
Let's go on, okay?
A fish.
A fish, yes.
A fish.
Two fish.
A fish. Oh,
Let's have a ride on the elephant, skeleton, the little skeleton said. Let's have a word with the parrot, skeleton.
Mommy, say that. Say the word. What?
Shall we say the words? Gee up, Nelly, it's here. Gee up, Nelly. The parrot says, good evening, all. Who's a cheeky boy, then? Have a cup of tea. Pretty Polly. Put the kettle on, mother. Okay, so let's have a word with the parrot, skeleton. The big skeleton scratched his skull. Let's keep out of the way of the crocodile, skeleton, he said. Come. When they were back in the street, and when they still could not find anybody to frighten, the big skeleton said, What shall we do now? The little skeleton scratched his skull. Let's frighten each other, he said. That's better than nothing. Good idea, the big skeleton said. So after that, the big skeleton frightened the little skeleton frightened the big skeleton and the little skeleton frightened the dog skeleton, and the dog skeleton frightened them. They hid round corners and frightened each other. They climbed up lampposts and frightened each other. They jumped out of dustbins and frightened each other, all the way home. And that is how the story ends.
On a dark, dark hill, there was a dark, dark town. In the dark, dark town, there was a dark, dark street. In the dark, dark street, there was a dark, dark house. In the dark, dark house, there was a dark, dark staircase. Down the dark, dark staircase, there was a dark, dark cellar. And in the dark, dark cellar, some skeletons lived.
Some skeletons lived, good. They still do. And this is the end.
Again!
Again!
And I will say the word.
You will say the words, okay.
And I will say the first and the last.
Good.